single flower bulb sold for more than an Amsterdam townhouse, and nobody involved had ever seen it bloom. It's February 1637, and we're standing in a tavern in Haarlem, Netherlands. A merchant named Winkle has just sold a bulb, just the bulb, mind you, still underground, for 6,000 guilders. To put that in perspective, a skilled craftsman earned maybe 300 guilders a year. This wasn't an heirloom. This wasn't proven. This was a promise. And within weeks, that same bulb would trade hands again, this time for even more. The Dutch economy was about to encounter something it had never seen before. Financial mania, fed entirely by something that didn't yet exist. But let's rewind. To understand how the Dutch got here, you need to know what made them rich in the first place. By the 1600, the Dutch had built something extraordinary, a merchant republic with more wealth per capita than any nation on earth. Their ships controlled the spice trade. Their banks financed empires. Amsterdam was the financial capital of the world. Then, around 1593, a botanist named Carolus Clusius brought something back from the Ottoman Empire that would change everything. Tulips. These weren't ordinary flowers. Tulips had arrived in Europe as exotic luxuries, and the Dutch became obsessed. But here's the thing, and this is crucial, some tulips developed these extraordinary striped and flamed patterns, colors that seemed impossible. Crimson on white, purple on yellow. The patterns were caused by a virus, though nobody knew that yet. They thought it was selective breeding. They thought it was art. It was actually a disease. Wealthy merchants and tulip enthusiasts began competing for the rarest varieties. They built tulip gardens. They hired gardeners. They paid extraordinary prices at auctions. This was status. This was beauty. This was rational at first. A rare bulb that produced those impossible colors. That was worth real money. So far, this is just history. This is just economics. But then something shifted. By the 1630, people who'd never owned a tulip garden in their lives started trading bulbs like they were stocks. Weavers, farmers, tavern keepers. The bulbs changed hands dozens of times, sometimes multiple times in a single day, often without anyone actually taking physical possession. They traded on credit. They borrowed against futures. They made side bets. Sound familiar? This was the first recorded speculative bubble in history. Prices became detached from reality. A bulb called the Semper Augustus, striped red and white, impossibly rare, sold for 6,000 guilders in 1633. Then 4,000 guilders. Then 3,000. The Viceroy, another famous variety, commanded 2,500 guilders. But here's what the traders didn't fully grasp. These prices existed only in the secondary market, in taverns and written contracts. The actual auctions, where real money changed hands for real bulbs, told a different story. By early 1637, the bubble had inflated so far that even modest bulbs, ones that cost 50 guilders, were being traded at 1,000. People mortgaged their homes. They took loans. They promised future harvests. They signed contracts they didn't fully understand. The entire Dutch merchant class seemed caught in a fever. Even the government took notice. Even the guilds began to worry. Something was deeply wrong with the mathematics of this market. Then came February 1637. Winter. The bulbs lay dormant underground, waiting for spring. Buyers and sellers had agreed to settle their trades after the harvest, when the bulbs would be dug up and delivered. But as spring approached, something unexpected happened. Buyers started backing out. They realized they paid absurd prices for flowers they'd never touch. The contracts, it turned out, had a loophole. If a buyer refused to take delivery, the seller had limited recourse. The market simply collapsed. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Contrary to popular belief, the crash didn't bankrupt the Dutch economy. It didn't topple the government. It didn't trigger a depression. Why? Because most of those trades were technically never binding. The contracts were fuzzy. The legal system didn't enforce them. Traders lost money, certainly, some significant amounts. But the losses were absorbed. The system held. What makes this story genuinely significant isn't what happened. It's what almost happened. The Dutch had come perilously close to a financial crisis that could have crippled their economy. They'd invented leverage trading, options markets, and speculation on margin centuries before Wall Street. They'd created a system where prices bore no relationship to underlying value, where confidence alone kept the structure standing. The real danger wasn't the tulips. It was that the Dutch had stumbled into something their legal and financial systems weren't prepared to handle. What if the contracts had been enforceable? What if the government had stepped in to protect buyers? What if credit had tightened and triggered a cascade of defaults? One small change, and Tulip Mania becomes a genuine catastrophe. One small change, and the Dutch Golden Age ends not with a bang, but with a flower. What historians often miss is this. Tulip Mania wasn't actually about tulips at all. It was about a society that had become so wealthy, so confident in its own markets, that it forgot a basic rule. Price and value must eventually reconcile. For one glorious, terrifying moment in 1637, the Dutch forgot. They nearly paid for it. The irony, tulips are still grown in the Netherlands, still celebrated, still beautiful, but nobody trades them for a house anymore. We learned that lesson once. Whether we remember it now, in an age of cryptocurrency and meme stocks and assets that exist only as data, that's a different question entirely. Subscribe for more forgotten moments where history turned on a single decision. The untold stories that nearly reshaped the world.